Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. I am sharing 10 cards using one of From Lizi's paper packs. Along with the monthly kits, there's also a variety of paper collections available. This is the Love You paper pack, and it includes 16 sheets of 8x8 paper. Some are specialty pattern papers with spot gloss, fabric texture, and embossing. One of the sheet includes 10 cut-apart tags. I've already gone ahead and cut out all of those tags so they're ready to go for my cards. So let's get started with card number 1. I'm using a sketch from Mojo Monday. This is number 468. For the background paper, I'm using a piece of this wood grain pattern paper, and this has a slight texture feel to it. And then for this strip going across the middle, this has a spot gloss with a really fine detail on there. And I love just the real mellow colors in all of this collection. It's just real lovely. Definitely very feminine collection. And then just to make it kind of soften those cards a little bit, I did round a couple of the corners, like the ones on the bottom. For some reason, I think if you round the corners, it gives it a little more feminine look to it. And with the background papers being more of a muted color, I decided to have the pattern paper as that main rectangular element. And now I'm including one of the tags. Like I said, I've already cut all of these out. And all of the cardstock I use for the 10 cards is just some paper that I already had in my room. And now I'm just using a piece of a cream ribbon and tying a little bow on the tag. I'm just kind of fussing with it, trying to get my bow just right. And then I'll just use my scissors and trim the little flag tail on the end of the ribbon there. And I find one of the easiest ways to cut the little fishtail on the ribbon is just fold it in half, fold the ribbon in half, and then just cut the little slit or the little notch. And then you get a nice even little fishtail on your end. So now I'll just go ahead and adhere that to my card. And then just a little finishing touch, I'm adding a few of the glitter Nuvo drops. And this is the Gold Coast color. So that is card number 1. Now on to card number 2. I'm using Sketch Saturday number 413. Now for the background, I'm using some of this brown pearlescent paper. This was one of the add-ons from the February From Lizi kits. And I didn't want to use a full sheet of it because this paper is so beautiful. So I did just cut some smaller strips, and since that middle part is all going to be covered up, you won't know that I didn't use a full sheet. And then this arrow paper in the middle is this really pretty dry embossed paper. And now I'm going to add these 3 little banners, and this is the same peach paper that has this spot gloss on it that I used on card number 1. So I'm just going to use those as these 3 thin strips that go behind this tag. And I did decide to cut little fishtails on the ends of all of those strips. And now I'm just trying to line them up and make sure they look nice and straight. And then I decided to add some matted layer to this tag, just so it popped up just a little bit more on top of the strips in that pattern paper. And I'll just fussy cut a thin border around it. And then again, I'm going to use some of the cream ribbon. So I did punch a hole through it. Then I always forget which direction to pull the ribbon. It seems like I do it wrong almost every single time. So I was actually proud of myself for getting it right this time. And then just to add a little more interest, I'm going to pop up that tag using some foam dimensional tape. And then instead of the little star element on the sketch, I decided to need a little heart because this is a Love You paper pack. I just cut out one using some of the solid cardstock. I'm just going to add that over on the side. And then one final touch, I'm going to use some more glitter drops. These are the Nuvo Golden Sunset. And that is card number 2. Now on to card number 3. I'm using MFT sketch number 312. For the background paper, this is a plaid design that has that fabric texture to it. And then I'm using another of the spot gloss. This is this floral paper as the main rectangular element. And then again, I'm using some more of this peach colored paper with that real subtle pattern that has a spot gloss on it. It's just perfect to add a little bit more color without too many busy patterns being mixed together. And as you can see, there is a scallop circle cut out of the back, and that is because I already cut it out. It's a great way to save on cardstock, especially if you don't have a lot extra. I chose one of the circle tags and then just adhered it to that scallop circle, and then I used a brad that I have had in my craft room for probably 15 years or more, but the colors matched perfectly. It has this really lovely peach and glitter look to it. So then that final touch, I just put a little banner in the upper left hand corner. So that's card number 3. Now on to card number 4. This sketch is number 37 from Reverse Confetti. So I decided this is going to be a shaker card. I thought it would be fun to have the 3 circle openings, all with some really lovely sequins in it. So I'm using a pattern paper, this floral design for the background, and then these little 3 banners, I'm just using some pearlescent paper, and again, this is an add-on that was available in the February release. It's a soft peach color and it matches beautifully with this paper collection. So I went ahead and used a die that I have that cuts out those 3 circles all in a row, which is perfect because it fits on this sketch beautifully. And I'll just get all of that card front ready and get it adhered onto the card base before I actually start the shaker element. So first I'm going to attach some of the acetate. So I'm just going to put some adhesive down to make sure that it adheres nicely. And my ATG was just a little wider than the little opening, so I did have to kind of wipe some of the tape in a little bit. And now I'm going to add the foam dimensional tape. And just a real easy way that I've learned is to fold it in half, because I'm going to need a double layer. And that way I don't have to try to cut 2 pieces the same size. And then I'm just going to put that all around the opening there. And then after I get some foam tape on the whole outer edges, then I'm also going to add some smaller pieces separating all of the circles. That way I don't have to fill my shaker like super full. I can just have a little bit in each of those circles, and then it'll still be very visible on the card. And I do try to make sure that all of the foam tape is touching the edges. That way none of the sequin mix can escape. But since I'm not using any fine glitter or anything like really small, that doesn't have to be like perfectly snug together. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the anti-static powder. And now the sequin mix. So this is the lovely sequin mix that came in From Lizi's January kit. This is the Rainbow Wishes. And it's hard to tell here, but it's actually just not a clear, but it's an iridescent color. So it has this just beautiful shine and everything to it. So I did add it to the card first, and then I flipped over the top to seal all of those little sequins in. So I just gave it a nice push to make sure nothing was going to come loose. And then for my sentiment, I did cut out this 4U die cut using some more of that pearlescent paper. And the die cut is made by Lawn Fawn, and I just like the sentiment because it works for so many card occasions. So after I get that adhered down, I'll have one last little touch. I'm going to add some of the white Blizzard glitter drops. I put 3 of them in that upper left hand corner and then just sprinkled a few more of them around the sentiment. So that is card number 4. Now moving on to card number 5. This is Reverse Confetti sketch number 59. This is a fun sketch because you can use two different pattern papers together in this rectangular element. So I'm using floral, like a busier paper design, and then just this soft polka dot design, and then some more of the wood grain paper for that background. And since I didn't get my triangles cut perfectly, I'm using one of the soft peach peel-offs to just put that right between, and nobody has to know that they weren't perfectly cut. It's a great thing about peel-offs. They kind of rescue you sometimes for card making. So now I'll just adhere that rectangular part on to my card front, and then also onto my card base. And for this card, I did leave just that thin white edge of the card base showing. And then I cut out one of the tags, and this one did have a little tag topper, but I did cut it off and just make it a rectangular sentiment instead. And then I'm just matting that on some of the cardstock, popped it up with some foam dimensional tape, and then I pulled out some more of that rainbow sequin mix, and I'm just sprinkling a few of them on the upper corner and the lower corner of the card. So that is card number 5. For card number 6, I'm using Mojo Monday sketch number 479. I'm using two different pattern papers for the background, and this is real fun because this is a double-sided sheet of pattern paper, and these are the same sheet, so I just use the opposite side. And then to separate the two, I just cut another piece of that brown pearlescent paper. And I just love the combination of all of these colors together. It's just this soft pink and a cream, and then just real light brown. So I just cut out my banner using some of the layering cardstock. And then for my sentiment box, I use this real light wood tone paper, and then I'll be adding another of the sentiment dies over that. And then for that stitched circle, this is some more pearlescent paper, and it's just like a soft cream color. And I'm just adding some real thin dimensional adhesive, and I wasn't sure if I needed to cover the whole back because I didn't want it to be uneven on the card, but it seemed to lay nice and flat, so I just put 9 little squares on the back there. And then I'm going to put that onto a card base, and since I did round the corners, I do need to round the corners on the card base as well. And then using some more of that brown pearlescent paper, I cut out the For You sentiment, just adding some liquid adhesive to the back. And I did have to hold this one just a little bit longer. The glue works really nicely. This is the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, but with the pearlescent paper, I seem to have to hold it just a little bit longer. And then just to tie in some more of the brown pearlescent paper, I used the same color for that banner in the upper right hand corner, and then just finished it off with some more of the glitter drops. So that is card number 6. So moving on to card number 7. This is Mojo Monday sketch number 236. And I don't know why I printed that one so small, but if you're ever interested in the sketches with measurements, I do share all of that over on my coordinating blog post, and that link is in the description box below. This is a fun sketch to use up some of those scraps that you may have left over. I decided to use papers that I've already cut into rather than cut another piece of pattern paper. So I have the plaid paper on the outer 2 pieces, and then some more of that wood grain in the middle, and then again some of this real soft peach color. And then just to add a little bit of separation between them, I used a variety of different peel-offs. I have like the glitter iridescent in the middle, and then some more of the peach on the bottom. And then I pulled out some more of this cream colored ribbon, and I just put a piece of score tape across the card, laid a piece going up and down, and then another one across, and that way I can sort of tie a fake little bow. So it's just a little knot, but it's adhered to the card because it's underneath that other layer of ribbon. This is a handy way to add that little bow without the extra thickness, or if you're not very good at tying bows, which I'm not very often. So I have that card front adhered to the card base, and then I pulled out this large heart-shaped tag. And then it does have a hole in it, but since I already have ribbon on that upper part of the card, I didn't really want to add another piece. So I dug through my brads again, looking for something that would coordinate nicely. And so there was this pearl brad, and it fit exactly over the hole. So I didn't want it to move around. So I just add some score tape to the back of the brad just to make sure it doesn't move. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop that up using some foam dimensional tape. And then just one final touch on the card and pulling out some more of the Nuvo drops. And this is again the White Blizzard glitter drops. And that is card number 7. For card number 8, I used Freshly Made Sketches number 95. The background paper is some more of this spot gloss floral paper. So I decided to use that as the background, and then it has so many different layers on this card. I didn't want to have too many busy patterns together. So I have just this simple tone-on-tone, it's almost a tone-on-tone, the pink with the I love you across it, and then some more of this embossed brown paper. So just go ahead and add that card front on to my card base before I add any other elements. And so I'm using another one of the tags, and it has this lovely heart that matches the pattern paper really nicely. And then I'm using some pearlescent paper for that little stitched circle, and I did change this up a little bit from what the sketch is. So it's definitely a larger circle, and then I still have that little banner there. But I decided this card isn't going to have any additional sentiments because it already has that large rectangular piece that says I love you all over it. So now for my tag, I decided to use this twine that has this gold kind of woven into it, but I wanted sort of a thicker piece, so I kind of layered it up in like 4 layers. So I'm trying to pull it through, and once again I pulled it through the wrong direction at first, so then I'm trying to change it. So that's why you see me fussing with this quite a bit. Well, I still didn't like the overall look with that little bump there. So I decided to add another piece and then try to tie a bow around it. So I kind of put it through the hole, and I couldn't get it very straight. So then I pulled that out, and then I went and tied it just around the back, put the little bow in the front. And I liked the look of this. So I'm just going to fuss with that bow quite a bit. And then I'll go ahead and trim off the ends. And then I'm just adding a little piece of score tape behind that bow just because it's only on there loosely and I don't want it to come off. And then I'll just pop all of that up with some foam dimensional tape. So then after getting that tag adhered to my card, I decided there was already enough elements on here. So that is card number 8. So moving on to card number 9. This is MFT sketch number 183. And I think this is one of my favorite cards. I actually have several from this collection since the papers are just so lovely. I used just a real soft pink cardstock for the background, and then the pattern paper has all of these lovely pink hearts with just a cream color behind it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that card front on to the card base. And overall, this card is fairly simple, and I did stick to the sketch pretty closely. I used some more of this soft wood grain paper for my sentiment banner, and then I cut out this heart instead of that circle using some really lovely glitter paper. And this was an add-on from a previous Love from Lizi kit, but I don't remember which month it was. But the paper just matched beautifully with the rest of the pattern paper. So then I used another one of Lawn Fawn's sentiment dies. I like having just nice general sentiments because then I can use the card for almost any occasion. And then just to finish it off, I'm going to use some more of that glitter paper and just added a little banner in the upper left-hand corner. So that is card number 9. So now on to card number 10. I'm using Mojo Monday sketch number 214. The background paper is just this cream colored paper with sort of a splattering of peach polka dots all over it. And then I'm using some more of this really lovely spot gloss peach paper for that circle element. And of course, I'm layering everything up with some cardstock, and I did cut that circle matted layer out of the back of the cardstock. I only had a few sheets of this cardstock, so that was a great way to save on the paper. One of the cut apart tags has the horizontal direction, so that worked perfectly for this sketch. So I decided to layer it in some more of this brown pearlescent paper, and then I'm using some more of that twine that has the gold kind of twisted around in there. And I did like a single layer and it just didn't look thick enough, so I did double it up. And again, I put it in the wrong direction. You'd think I would learn by now, but I do it almost every time. So once I get that corrected, I'm going to go ahead and pop it up with some foam dimensional tape. And I do tend to use a lot of adhesive, whether it's double stick tape or foam dimensional tape. I just want to make sure my cards stay together, and if it's with dimension, I don't want any of it to sag in. So now I just used some heart dies and cut out 2 different sizes, one using this brown pearlescent paper and then the other using some more of that really pretty glitter paper. And I'm just putting those where the flower element is on the sketch. And then just one final touch, instead of using some Nuvo drops, I decided to just cut these really small circles and putting them just in that lower corner. That way it all ties in together. So that is card number 10. So now here's just a quick recap of the 10 cards I made using Love From Lizi's Love You paper pack. So this is 16 sheets of 8x8 pattern paper. The colors are so beautiful. And if you do look at my still photos, those are a little more true to the actual colors of the paper. If you are interested in purchasing this paper collection, I will include a link in the description box. And I'd love to hear which card was your favorite. I had several, so it was kind of hard for me to pick just one. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.